Okay, we need to sketch f of x and g of x on the same coordinate plane. So let's start off with just the first one, f of x. F of x is supposed to be negative cosine x. Okay, so luckily there's not too much going on here. It looks like it's the cosine graph, and by multiplying it by a negative, it's going to flip it over the x-axis. So what I would do is I'd go ahead and start to graph, and I'm going to go ahead and call this 2 tick marks to get to 1. I just think that makes it look a little more natural here. But the cosine graph, cosine of 0 is 1, cosine of pi over 2 is 0, cosine of pi is negative 1, cosine of 3 pi over 2 is 0, and cosine of 2 pi gets back to 1. So I'm just making a table, not writing it out, but just getting all those from the unit circle. But you should really know what this graph looks like, and so it certainly doesn't look like a V. It's got some curvature to it. Okay, so that looks like one period of the cosine graph, and the directions ask us to do 2 periods. So I'm going to try to take this and then make a copy over here. Okay, so if I know what cosine looks like, and I know that this is just going to flip it over the x-axis, reflect it over the x-axis, then I'll just do that one point at a time. This point flipped over the x-axis lands here. Anything on the x-axis is going to stay on the x-axis. This would flip up, stays, this slips down, stays, flips up, stays, flips down. And then we got this back and forth wave motion here. And so I don't really need the original anymore. Go ahead and take this guy off. Okay, so here is my f of x, which is negative cosine x. Okay, now let's also do the other one, which is g of x. And g of x in the end needs to be negative cosine x, so same as this one, but instead of cosine x, it's cosine x minus pi. Okay, so you've got to know what kind of change this makes. So changing c is going to give us a horizontal shift. Horizontal shifts are c over b, so c is pi, b is 1. So it looks like it's shifting pi over 1 is pi. And then because this is subtract, it's going to go to the right. So just like back in algebra 2, if you subtract from x, your whole graph goes to the right. If you add to x, it goes that much to the left. So same idea. So if it's exactly the same graph except for this, then I'm just going to use these points, and I'm going to shift each point right pi and place it down. So this point, right pi, I know this distance is pi, shift it right pi, place it, shift this right pi, place it, and I just keep doing that. Add pi, add pi, now I can't really do that from over here because I don't see these extra points. But now I have plenty of room to see what the pattern's going on here. So this is going to keep looking like that, and that's going to keep looking like that. So I've got my g of x in red here, and in the end I've got my f of x in green, and that's how I would find both of those.